So thank you for joining our session about engaging the Rotary Foundation to build a more vibrant Rotary Club for your community. Between now and 8:15, I just wanted to take some time to explore ways that you are incorporating the foundation in your club's culture and talk about some examples. Maybe we can generate ideas. We could share some ideas. And hopefully you'll come away with something you can take back to your club. The process here, I've got a 12-minute video. I interviewed Josh Mancy, who's our past foundation committee chair and also president of the Lacrosse After Hours Club. And their club's been really active with the foundation. And so I asked him if he would allow me to interview him and just kind of share what their experience is as a club. As we go, I'm going to share the video, and once we get through the video, then we can take some time to have some discussion. I've got some things I'd like to talk about as we go, but I think we'll easily get through that in the time we have available. So let's start out with introductions. We did a little bit of this in our chit chat, but let's go around the room. And if everybody could give us your name, your club, current role in your club, if you have any formal roles in your club, and then maybe one thing you were hoping to take away from tonight's session. So David, you're in my upper left corner on my screen, so we'll start with you.
Good evening, everyone. Dave Ebner from the La Crescent Club. I'm a past club president and a past assistant district governor. Currently, I don't hold any particular position on the board with our local club. Tonight, I'm just hoping to get some additional ideas on how we can work to basically grow the foundation and how we can utilize foundation resources within our local club.
Great. Erin?
Hi, I'm Erin. I am in the Madison After Hours Club. I am a past president of my club. My year ended right when coronavirus was starting, and I am currently an AG in the Madison area. I just started that role, and yeah, I'm interested to hear foundation ideas. My club was trying to do a global grant recently, but that fell through. No fault of ours. It was from the club on the other end. So yeah, interested to hear some stories, how we can get more involved in the foundation, and how it can help our club.
Good. Timing's everything, isn't it? You ended your club presidency as COVID hit. That's a headache a lot of club presidents had a challenge with. So yeah. Thank you for being here. Kathy?
Hi, I'm Kathy Reinold. I'm the current president of the Holman Area Rotary Club, and I past committee chair for public image for the last 2 years. But it seems like in our club, foundation is always like a scramble to talk about it in November. I would like to get more ideas of how to just get people more engaged, and we have every Rotarian every year, but just trying to build that more into our every meeting conversation, so to speak.
That's great, thank you. Ellen?
I'm a member of the Madison Breakfast Club, and I'm on the foundation board and the club board, and I'm here to get some more ideas on how to use our foundation resources.
Okay. Wonderful. And Keith?
Yes, from Rotary Club of Richland County, and I might be the senior in the group here tonight. We 78 in November. A charter member of 1981 when our club was started.
Wow.
Been a past president. Currently do not hold any board of director or official positions in the club, except I and another retiree really lead the whole effort for Rotary Lights in the Park. And we do a lot with that and working with lots of people. And as you were hearing in our earlier conversation, we've taken advantage of the 6250 foundation grants. And one thing that we've done is our current president, he's an advocate of the Rotary International Foundation and really trying to encourage people to take advantage of that in terms of being donors and that kind of thing. So nobody's ever really come forward to try and do a global grant. But a few years ago, before Joe Rusky was district governor, he'd visited clubs and was talking about doing that project in Ghana. And I guess we were the first club over here in Southwest Wisconsin that he visited, and ended up, he's talking about $2,000 and something like that we could probably donate to that effort. So in our club, we threw out the challenge to him that in our Southwest Wisconsin, Richland Center, Viroqua, Prairie du Chien, and Platteville, that challenged each club to do $2,000. And from there, for Joe, that really gave him the inspiration to take off in doing that global grant. And several thousands of dollars came out of that inspiration that gave him. And that was just a tremendous thing that can happen. That opened our eyes of what can really happen with global grants.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And I'm Dwight Haney. I'm the foundation committee chair for the district. I'm a member of the Fort Atkinson Club. I currently don't have any formal roles in my club, but one of my goals tonight was to learn from you folks as well, because your questions will help me understand, are there things that our foundation committee could be working on to provide resources to clubs to help you on your journey with the Rotary Foundation as well. So I'm sure I will be learning as we go also. I'm going to start out with the video I mentioned, interviewing Josh Mancy. It's mostly Josh, less interview questions. But he covers a lot of the ground that you folks talked about, just in relation to their club. And I think that will kind of set a good stage for discussion of some of the things that you were interested in learning about tonight. So I am going to share my, try and share my screen and the video, and let's see how this works. So tonight we're exploring the ways in which engagement with the Rotary Foundation can positively impact club culture. I'm joined by Josh Mancy, Lacrosse After Hours Club President and past District 6250 Foundation Committee Chair. Josh, thanks for taking time to share the story of the Lacrosse After Hours Club journey with the Rotary Foundation.
Thanks, Dwight.
The history of Lacrosse After Hours support for the Rotary Foundation has included a steadily Oh, something happened there. The video cut out. I wasn't prepared for that.
Technology world's not perfect.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're just going to wing it then. I think what the Lacrosse After Hours Club is doing gets to kind of the core of a lot of the questions and comments you had shared. Their experience, their giving to the Rotary Foundation's annual fund is on a very sustainable track. You see years that it grows and then it levels off and it'll grow again and level off again. They have had a couple of years where it decreased. And for me, I think that was interesting to learn about why that happened. They had years where they had taken on a project and a lot of their members decided to give more for that project than to the Rotary Foundation. So as a matter of personal priority for their donations. And my suggestion to every club, it's my job to advocate for the Rotary Foundation. But there are times clubs and Rotarians have to make decisions. So the structure, the annual fund share program, that's where our money comes from to do district grants, to be able to match money for global grants. It's hugely important that we as Rotarians support that. But we also know that there are times clubs take on some pretty amazing service goals. The projects that your clubs are doing around the district, it's just fascinating. And sometimes some Rotarians are so motivated by that project, they decide that's the priority for their giving to Rotary that year. So I would just want to caution any clubs. Yes, you want to meet those goals, and yes, you're going to hear from our foundation committee about how we're doing. But the other side of that is we do know there are other things within the Rotary universe that are really important to the members. The way the Lacrosse After Hours Club got to their level of giving really started with their mindset about service and their projects. The Rotary Foundation is a funding mechanism, but the excitement and the energy comes from how they go about identifying projects. So they have a process that they call a Shark Tank, similar to the TV show where the venture capital investors are hearing pitches from people who are getting their companies going. But what they do is members of their club go out in the community and find needs in the community, find projects. They bring those projects back to the club, and then they have a Shark Tank session. There's a process whereby different groups in the community are invited to do if I remember correctly, a 7-minute pitch. There's some questions that get asked by the members, and once they've been through all those pitches, the members of the club vote, and based on that vote, they determine what projects they're going to do. The reason I mentioned that model, Josh would be happy to share the model with anybody. I know the club's happy to share their model with anybody, but it's not so much how they do it, but the fact that ideas for projects start with their members, and all of their members know that it's not just the club president's job. If you've been a club president, there was a time in PETS training that you might have heard, well, it's your president year, you should have a project in mind. Sometimes what the president wants to do isn't what the rest of the club gets excited about. It doesn't mean it's a bad project, but it doesn't mean everybody's going to jump up and down and say, yeah, I'm on board with that. So maybe thinking in your clubs first about how do we get to the place where we say we want to take this on. That could be the thing that leads into further discussion about what is our relationship with the Rotary Foundation and why is it important to support, because you get into larger projects, maybe a $1,000 project in a local park is something that, yeah, it's nice to come and get a district grant for $500 to save some money for your club, but it's also for most clubs not a super challenging goal. And it's something that gets done easily. Part of the reason I picked on Lacrosse After Hours for that interview was they are just at the beginning. They just had a global grant approved. The global grant's taking place in the lacrosse area. They're not sending money overseas. They went out and found international partners in partnership with one of their local health systems. They and other lacrosse area clubs have gotten together. I believe their international partner is a club from Germany with which they have had a relationship. They're funding a mobile medical clinic van. I believe it may have a dental component. I don't recall that detail. but to serve people who are uninsured or lack access to health care. And when you think about Wisconsin, southeastern Minnesota, think about some of our larger agricultural businesses and farms. They employ a lot of people who don't have health insurance. That's not uncommon in the areas you live. And so they decided to take on the project of how can we help make sure people have access to health care? They can't solve all the problems for the federal government, but what they can do is say people in our community can have access to this mobile clinic. They're purchasing a van. Gunderson Health System is supplying the medical expertise, and in partnership together, they put together a global grant. This came out of their Shark Tank process. A member went out and was concerned about this, went and talked to Gunderson Health, and they came through that Shark Tank process. And I know a number of the members in that club, and they are all excited about doing this. And they're also excited about hopefully showing the rest of the district that it's possible for us to find global grants we can do here that help our neighbors. It's not always about us doing something in a country outside the United States. That said, I didn't want to sit here and talk all night. I'm trying to cover the interview topic a little bit. But that said, I'd be curious, do any of your clubs have an interesting process you do to identify projects or community needs that you'd be willing to share with the rest of us? How do you go about figuring out what the club might get excited about? And for those of you who are struggling with it, can you envision a way that maybe invite members to say, bring us your best idea, and then we'll figure out what to do as a club from there? Any thoughts about that?
Sure. So my after hours club, we are about 25 members or so. So we're a smaller club. We don't have a lot of money on our own. But when we were looking for project ideas, this was during my presidency year. One of the things, and again, it's, as Rotarians, a lot of us are in a place of privilege and we don't have a lot of needs. And so a lot of us don't know what our community needs. And I know that our downtown club, the big one here in Madison, they have a huge, foundation, and they give out all kinds of grant monies and they solicit requests and blah, blah, blah. So I actually contacted their club secretary, is not her title. I think their club director, she's a paid employee. And I asked her if she could send us, 10 or 15 of the community project request grants that they had not been able to fulfill. So there was already, that had been created in our community. And it was just knowing that it was out there, and she did send us those to us. Our club didn't end up picking anything from there, but there are definitely, for Ellen, who's in the Breakfast Club, that resource here in the Madison area is there of who is looking for community grants.
That's a great idea. Other clubs are always a great resource. Our district webpage, District 6250 website, under the foundation header, there's a listing of past district grants and global grants out there. Another way there's another possible resource. Go and look at examples of what other clubs have done. It's not all going to apply to your club or your community, but you just never know what you might learn from something like that. Any other thoughts? Keith, you're muted. I think you were talking.
Yeah,
There we go.
Looking for the microphone to mute. So I think one of the issues that that we've seen here is, of course, the retail kind of business, shop local, buy local. And really, for as long as I've been a member, there tends to be a pretty strong feeling about let's spend our money, let's do our money local first. And so it takes some salesmanship to get people to thinking about other kinds of projects and assistance that can be done. And just talking in terms of general donations to the RA Foundation. And I think we probably don't do a good job locally of really sharing what good is being done through all of the grants that go on. And you never know who may become interested in that general concept. And I really like the idea of the automatic debiting monthly for a donation to the foundation. And it's a real easy way to do it, and you can do it in smaller increments so it doesn't bite so much. It's really a great way to do it. And in all the years that I've been a member, it never once dawned on me that these could apply to like what they're doing up there in La Crosse, and the project is here in this country.
Yep.
I always have thought that it's third world countries and severe needs like that. And you guys you really opened my eyes tonight that there are some significant needs, and it'd be a matter of linking up with that other club from some other place and selling them on an idea. So that's I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah.
That whole idea that.
Yeah, Keith, I was going to say the La Crosse Club has a great presentation about that project, in case you want to invite them to be a speaker at your club. And you guys probably don't want to do the exact same thing, but when we had them in our club, it definitely inspired us to dream big. So yeah, they'd have a really slick presentation put together for that.
Good.
And it is a project that could be duplicated in other communities if you found the right people to come together to bring the resources for it. And
when we look at that whole piece, and you mentioned a lot of agricultural area, and Richland County is one of the lowest income counties in the state.
Yeah.
And it's very much agricultural territory. So, and a lot of immigrant, like they mentioned what they discovered, and actually they've been doing a free clinic here at our clinic hospital facility 1 day a week, and trying to support that. So that's wonderful.
One of the things we learned in Fort Atkinson recently is that a few of our members work for the local hospital, and one's chief financial officer, and he shared with our club that over the last year, we've actually had 48 people in the county diagnosed with malnutrition. We've got wonderful food banks and things, but what we're talking about as a club is what could be our role to help make sure people get connected with nutritional services. So that's not the case. It's sad to us to think that in our county, there are people who are actually getting there to the point there's a medical diagnosis like that. So just there's a lot of folks you could talk to. Someone else was that you, Ellen?
Madison Breakfast has an application process that works quite well. And we ask our members to go out and look for possible needy groups right here in our area. Thus, our $3,000 or $4,000 that is divided each year from the foundation comes from our members going after these groups to fill out an application. And that seems to work fairly well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There again, it's member driven to go out, take a minute, go out and advocate that Rotary's there to help to organizations you're aware of. It comes from the membership, not just one person then. Yeah. Other resources in your community might be your local United Way. Talk to your Chamber of Commerce. They may be aware of some things that are happening in the community. Your local churches, your local hospital. There's just the county and some of the different programs they have for people. there's a lot of ways to find out what are some of the needs. You'll have, once your club really starts reaching out, I promise you'll have more ideas than you know what to do with. As fortunate as we are to be Americans, there are still people in our midst in need. And there's nothing wrong with thinking about we're going to help our local community and people in our community. So let me, we talked a little bit about global and district grants, where they fit. The process is what it is. Make sure somebody comes to grant management seminar from your club. Basically, district grants, you come up with half the money for the project, up to a certain amount, the district will come up with the other half. If you have more clubs involved, those dollar amounts, the potential goes up. So sometimes don't let ideas go just because you say that's probably more for us to bite off than we can chew as a club financially. Talk to us. There may be ways that other resources come together. We also have two committees that are growing at the district level, the International Service Committee and there's a Service Committee. They are both focused on how can we help clubs identify opportunities for service. The International Service Committee is focused on just that. What are international projects? Some of those that clubs would take on could become global grants. Some of them could be small enough, though they're district grants. The dividing line is $30,000 price tag. So once you hit $30,000, it becomes a global grant. Less than that is a district grant opportunity. The service committee will be looking at ideas, helping clubs think about how can we generate ideas, part of the conversation we just had. So keep your ears peeled for information from them. The International Service Committee is very active. Chuck Hansen is in one of the other breakout rooms tonight. He leads that group, and the Service Committee is just forming. You should be seeing information about them coming in the next couple of months. I would think we'd know more about what they're doing and what they've got to offer all of us. Also, just want to take a few minutes to talk about the fundraising piece. You know, to me, it's a chicken or an egg question. And I think that depends on the particular Rotarian. Some Rotarians come to Rotary and they say, I want to fully be part of this. And when they're asked to give, whatever time of the year your club happens to practice that, they're going to give. Others are going to think about, well, why should this be a priority in giving for me personally? And I think that ties back to the service. In my own club, our club foundation chair does a real nice job of reminding us. We do our appeal in March. I know it's been a club tradition, always been that way since I joined the club. We do it in March, but when he goes out with the appeal, he never just asks us to join in our commitment to the annual fund share program or do every Rotarian every year. He reminds us of the district grants and global grants we've participated in and said that happens because we give. And so I think finding a way to tie that appeal together with the service makes it more than, a lot of times you hear people, oh, you're the chief arm twister. I like to think about we're offering people the opportunity to help make things happen. And I personally look at it, when I see other clubs in the district doing projects that were funded with a district grant or a global grant, I feel like I have some little piece in that because I supported the annual fund. Is it my project? No, but it sure makes me proud to think that maybe a few dollars I gave came back to someone else in the district, some other club in the district, and it's helping accomplish those things. Think about that in your club, challenge your club members. I'll be talking about this with the foundation chairs over the next 3 years. Turn that into a story about the difference it makes. It's not about the dollar amount, it's about the difference it makes. So I think that's a way that you can turn that into a friendly discussion, a friendly appeal, versus just the old, it's that time of year again, everybody pull out your checkbook. It could be, You remember when our club did that project and how we got a district grant that paid half the cost of that project? That happened because all of us gave and our fellow Rotarians around the district gave. Why don't we all join in again and help make that happen again? If you're planning on submitting a district grant or a global grant, that could be a real motivator for a lot of Rotarians to give. So the club down the road from us in Whitewater, Wisconsin, they're in the next district over, they do a rose sale every year. And it was starting to wane. It was one of their biggest fundraisers, but it was starting to shrink. And a couple of their members decided we have to change our publicity. What they did on their posters and on their website and all the information, they started listing all the service projects they did in the community and internationally. And all of a sudden their rose sales jumped up and got ahead of where they were before. So that convinced me telling that story of what we're accomplishing makes a huge difference. Related to fundraising, I also wanted to mention donor recognition. That's something that I'm focused on in my 3 years as foundation chair. Ask that your club make sure you have a way to recognize people who become Paul Harris Fellows, Paul Harris Society. Think about it. It could, those are some of the formal things that happen with the Rotary Foundation. Your club can recognize people who give at any level. I don't care if it's $1. Make sure you thank your Rotarians who contribute in any way to your projects, to the Rotary Foundation. Make sure you have a way you do that consistently. My club, we have an annual picnic when all of those types of awards are given. And we get a lot of coverage in the local newspaper doing it that way. So that's part of our motivation to do it. I've belonged to other clubs, though, that the moment the club foundation chair hears that someone has achieved a Paul Harris Fellow or the next level of Paul Harris Fellow, at the next meeting that's presented. And there are a lot of different ways to do it, but I'd ask that your clubs think about that as well. Because it's another chance to say, and thank you to these people for their generosity, because they've helped make these projects happen as well. So I think that all ties together in some way.
Hey, Dwight, can I tack on to that?
Yeah.
So one thing that my club did that was really successful, we had 2 champions for the Rotary Foundation in November and December when I was president. One of them came to me and said, hey, I want to be anonymous, but I want to match up to $2,000 this year, dollar for dollar, what our other club members donate to the Rotary Foundation. I made that announcement. It was like 7 days later, we were up to $2,000. Yeah. Most of my club is under 40 and just young professionals. Like we're not crazy rich people. And he immediately tacked on like another $2,000 for matching, which we also got up to. Then Dave Warren, who was our foundation person, he said to me, Erin, you have a member here. He doesn't come to meetings, but he's a big supporter of the Rotary Foundation, and he has tons of Paul Harris points. So we approached him, and he also agreed to be a champion. And we had an ascending points for points match also. And so like if you donated $50, he'd match that for 50 points, but it kept increasing. If you donated $100, he'd match it like for 200 points. And so then we calculated how far all of our members were from Paul Harris Awards and said, hey, if you donate, you're going to get these matching points. You're going to be up to Paul Harris. And every single one of those people donated up to that amount. So finding people in your club to be champions and doing those matching things and getting people up to that Paul Harris faster can really help you guys out too.
Yeah. That's a wonderful way to go. Thank you for mentioning that, Aaron, because many Rotarians have a whole lot of Paul Harris points sitting there from over the years. It equates to however many dollars you've given over time. Our club does the same thing. We offer matches for up to a certain amount for anybody in the club when they contribute to our annual fund appeal. And I have a standing commitment that my Paul Harris points are available at any time to be used in that way. We have 51 seconds left. Is there anyone else wanted to share a thought? It's about 45 seconds long. I'm going to close up then with, if your club is looking for a speaker relative to foundation, we have foundation champions around the district. We have clubs who are willing to share their experiences. I'm happy to come out. I can join you by Zoom. I can join you in person. I retired in December. I love to hike, so I'd love to come out to see your club and then go hiking either before or after, both. Please let me know. My contact information is on the District 6250 website under the Foundation tab. Reach out to me and I'll get you connected with people